there. But something I gotta get restreaming YouTube, playing nice with each other. Something's up. But here we are. Let's build Forceopoly. Our last episode, we bought property, we paid rent, we went around the board, we got paid for pass and go. We got a lot of logic happening in here. And we're taking turns. And we're looking at our backlog to see what is still broken. And it seems like with everything we fix, we find a few more things to break. Oh, we talked about transactions last week. I kind of want to do that today. Kind of want to build transactions. Let's do that. Super nerd stuff. Let's do one other thing. Let's find this Winter 22 permission set UI thing. Where are you? Winter 23. Thanks, Salesforce, Ben. Set field level security for a field on permission sets instead of profiles during field creation. I have been looking all over for this. User management, field level security. Okay. User management settings. Where are you? Enhanced. Nope. Field level security for permission sets during field creation. Set field level permissions when creating or editing custom fields. With this option, you configure access to the permission sets instead of profiles. Perfect for what we're doing here, because that's how we do things in our apps. So if we're going to do some record creation or object creation, we definitely want to have that turned on. I guess we should tell the world that we're live, huh? Let's do that. Oops. And that looks good. Publish now. Boom. Okay, back to work. Transaction. So we want an object that is going to keep track of money and maybe other types of transactions. Maybe property being given and taken, buying and sold, which is also money. So I guess that's a thing. Let's see. So let's see what we can figure out here. I'm going to thinking about a transaction in the context of our game. Whenever we do one of those, well, really when we start a game, we need to have a transaction. We need to give each of the players money. So it makes me think about, is there context for these things? How do we want to do this? Start a game. The game gives each player money. So the, plus 1,500. So we can roll up the balance of the player at that point. Player buys property. Money goes back to the bank. Deduct. So the relations, I'm trying to think of the relationships on the objects, because there'll be player to player transactions, right? Who's the creditor and who's the debtor. sometimes the debtor is the bank. Sometimes the creditor. Wait, do I have those right? Who's pardon me while I look up my accounting terminology. If you're the debtor versus creditor, the creditor is the one who lends money, and the debtor is the one who borrows. So I guess maybe it's not necessarily a debtor and a creditor, because it's not like you're paying it back. It's just a transaction. Do those terms count in a transaction? Creditors that have lent fund. Yes. Maybe it's just the payer and the receiver, right? The recipient. Either way, we need two sides of that. So when a player gives money to another player, it's really two transactions, right? Because it goes. We would need to be able to credit one side and debit the other. This quickly gets complicated. I think it'll be fun, and I'm trying to think if it might play into. I think it could play into the auction process as well. Like if the transaction is just the final decision in an auction, right? So we maybe have to hang something else off of the transaction to like bids, right? Let's go for it. Let's see what we can do. We might get all wrapped around the axle with this, but it might be fun at the same time. So let's see. I'm gonna create a transaction object. Transaction and plural transactions. Transaction name. Let's go with TX. Reportable, sure. I think we don't need a custom tab for this. I think we can just get away with having it be related to stuff. So what's it going to be related to? It's going to be we could have it related to players, right? Let's think about this. If we have, I'll let the dog out. One player is giving money to another player, then we're always going to have two sides of the equation, right? So what's the right terminology we want to use here? Not necessarily buyer and seller. Is it... Oops. Debits and credits. Debits are money flowing into an account. Credits are money flowing out of an account. So debits increase and credits decrease. So let's see. If we want this to roll up to a player, to a thing, right? I wonder how to do this. I'm getting. You can see that axle that I was talking about getting wrapped around. Yeah, that's where I'm at right now. Let's write it out a little bit. Probably doesn't help that my head is like all over the place here today. So if we have a transaction, right, we have a transaction, and let's say the scenario is, land on Baltic Ave, right? Player one minus 60. Player 2 plus 60. So the right, the total here, if well, let's back up a little bit. We'll just tell the whole story. Start game. Player 1 plus 1500. Player 2 plus 1500. This is bank, right, minus 1500. And this is bank minus 1500. Let's see, player 1, P1 buys Baltic. P1 minus, I forget what it's worth, 60? Let's say minus 100 just to make it easy. Bank plus 100. Dog coming back in. All right, and then P2 lands on Baltic. The rent is like $6. So P2 minus 6, P1 plus 6, right? So it would be this works out pretty well if so then if I've got, right, what's my transaction record look like? So the player equals P1, the amount equals 1500 on this transaction. And what? Let's see. If we quickly like careening into like double entry accounting here for transaction management. What we don't have is like a common account, and not, I don't mean like a Salesforce account. I mean like a, you know, like a bank. I have players. I was hoping to just be able to use the player as the account, right? And then have these transactions hang off of the each of those accounts. But then I got the game itself, which kind of throws things for a loop because game is not the same object type as player, and it would be super cool if the sum of the transactions was just rolling up to the player, to keep their balance accurate. But then I have the game. So it feels like we need something between the player and the transactions, and then we need something between the game and the transactions so that it could roll up no matter, no matter what. Which I don't want to call it an account. Like we could call it money. We could create a money object, right? Maybe that's what we do, right? So you have you have a money object, which and then you have a transaction object. The transaction object has a lookup to money. This would be like a master detail, right? MD to money, and then the money could look up to the player, and it could look up to, maybe it's bank, right? Like maybe, because, well, yeah, it could be we could call it bank. Like the player can have a bank. Let's call it bank, like that. Player has a bank, and the game can have a bank. Look up to game, right? And then the transaction master detail to money, so the bank will have a master detail to bank. Sorry. The bank will have a rolling, we'll have it'll always have a balance, right? Which would be the sum of amounts, right? Now the question is, so there's always two transactions in this world, so we need, I wonder if we need a entry object, so we could basically have a debit, which would be a transaction. And we have a credit, which would also be a transaction. So we could see how each of the transactions interact with one another. And would that make sense? So this is just a lookup to the transaction. This is just a lookup to the transaction. This allows us to always see, okay, so then I think what we also get as an aside is what's the balancing entry or the balancing transaction for each transaction through the entry. And then a bank is it's just a bucket of money, right? The game always has a ton of money. How much? Let's see. Monopoly bank total. Monopoly game. Here we go. In the game made after 2008, the bank has $20,580. Funny that has changed over time. Now I'm curious. I don't know what that was doing. Each player starts with 1,500. Is there history there? I'm very curious. this is an interesting breakdown. We haven't haven't gotten into that level of nonsense, but maybe there's a fun future in managing the currency within the literally the bills and what's available. How much money? I keep seeing 20,000 prior. Okay, prior to 2008. Where'd you go? Look at that happy retired lady. Where was that? Come on. In 2008, Hasbro did a graphic update to the game. They changed the bank to 2,580, up from 15,140. Wasn't that the same year the financial collapse? The truth comes out, people. It was Monopoly that caused it. Yep. They took all the money out of the system when they had to update their games. All right, 2,580. That is the balance. That is the bank, the starting balance for each bank. So how do I how do you open an account? Or how do you open a bank? Right? We have to deposit. I don't want to get into all the accounting, but I feel it goes so deep so fast. Let's see. So that's the only thing we need to figure out is like, well, who's going to give how does the opening balance start? I need a transaction, right? I guess it would just be, the other side of that transaction would be, there would be no, it would be a debit, right? Debits raise numbers, credits reduce numbers. I think. I just read it. How can I not remember? A debit is an accounting entry that increases an asset or an expense account, or decreases a liability or equity account. So we want to increase our assets. We want to take on debits. Okay. And a credit is the other thing. Increases a liability or equity account. Equity account, though. Are these equity accounts? We're debiting a cash account. That means the money goes up. I guess it depends what kind of account we want to consider this to be. Well, we'll go with, all right. There's so many ways to look at this. I guess this would be, I'm sorry, I'm just reading off to the side here to this is what I'm reading. I'm trying to remember my debits and credits and trying to think, all right, what is this? This is the, the bank selling, this is the game selling property to a player. So what would we consider that to be? Considerable confusion about the inherent meaning of a debit or credit. If you debit a cash account, then this means that the amount of cash on hand increases. If you debit an accounts payable account, this means that the amounts of accounts payable liability decreases. These differences arise because debits and credits have different impacts across several broad types of accounts. Right. So we're talking about... Here we go. Here we go. Purchase. The following bullet. Okay. Which one are we? We are sale for cash. If the bank sells us for cash, we debit their account and credit the... Well, it's really... This is all internal. All right. All right. I'm not... I can get lost in this for days. What I really want to do is show that one balance is going down and the other one is going up. So I don't know if we're going to be compliant with this with the CPAs, but I think we can do it this way. I'm gonna keep the entry object because I do think it'll help to see the transactions like from both sides. It'll just be an interesting experiment to see how that plays out. Or they might, it might not even be. I think we, instead of having an entry, maybe they just share like a just share an ID, right? Or we make an entry object that just does the debiting and the... can we do that? Now we really need the transaction to relate to... No, the transaction relates to the bank and then the bank relates to that. So if the transactions had a... maybe they just had a... If we create an entry, think of that as like the line. So credit one side, debit the other side. Two transactions technically that hit each bank. That's what the entry is. So let's keep it. Let's keep it. We'll see what kind of trouble it causes for us. Okay. So I gotta hang on one second. Where'd it go? What is that? Another browser window. Very important. Gotta check on the... What are you? No, not right now. That's super weird. Stop doing that. Gotta check on my car insurance. What? Okay, looks like we're good, maybe? The question is my car insurance being Speaking of accounting, recurring EFT, yes. Okay, let's do that. I don't know, what is, okay, yeah. Okay, sorry. Hijinks and hilarity with automated payments, and suddenly, my car insurance wasn't being paid. Fun. Okay, where were we? Let's build some transactions. So we got transaction object, and that is going to now every time. So this means every time we create a game, we need to create a bank for the game and a bank for each player. And then this also kind of means that these transactions are only going to track money, not finances, so or not property, exchanges or trades or what have you. But sorry, ping from work. Sorry. New staff. Getting them hooked up. Okay, so transaction. We're going to have a. We're going to need a. The transactions relate to. We need a bank, right? They don't really need a magic name. We'll just call them bank. I don't think we need wizards there either. So a bank is going to, come on now. That's going to relate to a player. So the player will have a bank. Oh, look at that. Oh, I like that. Hey, yeah. Let's do that. I wasn't expecting that. I was just talking about that and totally forgot. So we need the player on the bank layout. I don't think I want the banks on the player layout. I think we're going to need because this is, the data structure here has us in kind of a one-to-many situation, but I think I want to put this bank into a lookup on the player, so I can say player.bank.balance when we get to that point. So it'll be a little bit redundant, but I don't. There's no reason in our game why somebody would have multiple banks. Banks are accounts. Like, I just wanted to pick a word that didn't confuse the rest of the world here. Okay, so they could also relate to a game. All right, so we'll put that on the game. Okay. The game can have banks. It's only ever going to have one, though. put the game on the bank layout. Don't put the banks on the game layout, though. Can do the same thing there eventually. Okay, so I got a bank, and now I can go back to my transaction. I want there to be a master detail up to the bank, because we're gonna, it's kind of the whole point, to keep this running balance. Bank transactions, read only, sure. Yep. 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 Okay. And the transaction has a amount. Yep, currency. I don't think we can put Monopoly bucks in as in here as multi-currency, can we? Do we ever have? We never have. There's never values less than $1 in. We definitely need. We need to require that. Oh, I'm in love with it. This is my favorite new feature of Salesforce right here. This is so good. Because this is the way we should be building, folks. We should be building to permission sets, not to profiles. I do wish they showed the profiles here alongside them. I kind of thought that's what was going to happen. Like you'd have a profile section and then a permission set section. Just because we're in this is going to take forever to transition over to, if ever, really. I mean, this is a move that we as a collective, people who work with Salesforce, need to make the world a better place. But it's going to take a hot second to get there. Okay, so we got a transaction with an amount, and it is going to impact a bank total. I guess we could put a note in here, right? Let's put a little one-liner. What happened? Memo field. Memo. Call it memo. I guess we're also going to have an entry, so I wonder if we want a memo on the... Maybe we don't need the memo here. This is really just the nuts and bolts actions that are happening, because we're going to create... let's see. Let's create this new object. Entry, right? Okay. So we'll create 2 of these. We'll create a credit. I'm just going to say for our, there's 2 transactions. For our world, we'll say, one's a credit and one's a debit. Credit adds money. Adds money to bank balance. Let's call these are the credit entries, I think. This is on the child relationship name. I think it's credit entries we would want to call that. Let's see if I get that right. Sometimes I get these backwards when... Okay, so then we're going to create another lookup to transaction. Call this the debit. I'm just going to say that removes money from bank balance. Call this debit entries. Okay. Okay, so now we've got entry. The total, if we were to total the debit and the credit, they should always be equal, except for like an opening balance, right? That's something we don't have going on. So I don't know if we really need that. It might be useful for like auditing purposes, and I wonder if we do need some kind of type, because I don't think if we're going to credit at the start of the game, there's not going to be a debit transaction with that. There's nothing to debit from. We just are creating the money. So, okay, let's see what we can do here. Where were we? So let's go create. Let's go mess around with a game. All right, let's see. We need to create a bank for the game and the bank for each of the players. I'm just going to do that in. Let's do that in a window here. Game bank equals new bank. And we'll use this game. We need two more. Player bank 1, which will relate to a player. Player bank 2 is the other player. Okay. Let's insert all of those. Game bank, player 1, player 2. Okay. There's all that. And okay, we got banks. Let's open up the dev console. Do a quick query out here. Take a look at these. Game player name from bank. Balance, right? Oh, whoops. Did we not put a balance out on the bank yet? Maybe we didn't. oops, do a roll up to, let's call it balance. And we're going to make that summarize the transactions, the sum of amounts, all records. There we go. Okay. Reload our... Where did my... Wait a minute. Did I... Am I crazy? Didn't I just... Did I close it? What on earth did I do? All right, well, I'm dumb. Can't I just write these in the... Wait a minute. Isn't there like a Socal builder in here now? Have I done anything with that? Create query in Socal builder. Yeah, let's do it. Duh. Let's load bank. What do we want? That's interesting. I want to do... Game r.name. Will let me do that? Curious. So wait a minute. All this hullabaloo for this feature and you can't do relational queries? Can I type my own Socal? Wait a minute. I mean, this is kind of handy, but usually I want to... Okay. I can't do this, though. Nope. Can I traverse it somehow? I already got game, so... Okay. 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 I guess we'll just do it over here. Select ID, game, player, and, wow, can't type today. And balance from bank. Okay. So we got players, no balances. Balances, I'm guessing, or they don't. So I thought they were going to be a number, like 0, but maybe not. Okay. Let's... well, let's do some transactions in here. So we're going to need a let's do the start of game transactions, right? Transaction tx1 equals new transaction. I guess we should put in an entry for each of these, right? Entry. Say E1 equals new entry. So I don't want to do that. Create 2 transactions and then create an entry, and then the entry has 2 fields. Or create an entry and then put it against both transactions. Guess it doesn't really matter which way that goes. I'm trying to think. Do I have the relationship right? Because here we're going to do, all right, the transaction, the bank is going to be the first player's bank, right? Player bank 1.id, and the amount is going to be 1,500. Well, I suppose we actually need a transaction before that, right? So let's see, transaction 0 is going to be from the bank is the game bank. The amount is, what was that, 20,580? So we'll say, I'm going to say E0TX1. So we'll insert that, and then we'll set E0 dot credit equal to that transaction. Then we don't have anything to debit. So I'm curious how this is going to work. So we'll insert that first transaction. So now we can do transactions for the to get the game started. So player 1 gets 1,500, and then the matching transaction for that is to take the bank, the game bank, and take away 1,500. And then we need to insert both of those transactions. So these are actually E1TX1. Okay, so let's insert okay. Insert those, and then we can set those on the entry itself. So the credit was to E1 TX1, and the debit was from E1 TX2. So it feels like if we end up with some kind of flow that would say, you know, whatever, you know, do transaction, right? We need to know what are our input variables. We need to know what's the amount. We need to know the who's getting the credit and who's getting the debit. And I think those would just be this is money, right? And then this is a Salesforce ID, and then this is a Salesforce ID. Oops. So this is this could be a player or the game itself. This is a player or the game itself. But with those three things, we can create an entry, figure out who's doing the crediting and the debiting, and what the amount is. The amounts are always the same on both sides, and then insert the values. And that's, you know, the kind of there's a lot of and it will affect those banks likewise. So there's some mojo there, but it boils down to three fields that we can, and then maybe we do have like a, you know, we'll have a memo here, and that'll just be, that'll be some text of what happened. We could, I'm trying to think. Let's think about the data here, right? What causes a transaction? You land on property, you buy it, you sell it, you auction it, you land on chance. There's things there. You pass go. All those things would be transaction worthy. Maybe we just have maybe it's not really even a memo for us. Maybe it's a, what do you say? It's just a pick list. There's a finite number of those. But all right, let's see. This is money to the bank. That's a different type, right? That's like and we need that opening balance for the game, right? Suppose the debtor could, or the debtor could, the debit side could be the universe or something. All right, we're down here. We're inserting this entry, which gives our first player money from the bank. We'll set up another one. So this will be E2, 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 nope, E2, and E2, and E2. Okay, so this is player 2. They're both getting $1,500, and then we insert those entries. So let's see, how did we do here? I'm going to do everything from here down. Well, maybe we did okay. Let's see. Let's select ID. And see, this is where all right. What I really want, I think, is the entry. I want the relationship for the entry to be in the other. Do I? I feel like I want the relationship for the entry to be in the other direction, or at least redundant, right? So maybe the transaction should have an entry lookup as well. Let's see, because that would be transaction dot. I'd love to be able to do this, right? Transaction, select ID, entry, right? The transaction relates to a bank. No records though. Did we miss something here? Did I actually run my code? Wait a minute. Something's wrong. What's going on? I'm a little lost here. What's going on? No, we still got 3 banks, so that's not the problem. I want to run from here. Well, let's just run this, I guess. I don't think it, oh, invalid type entry. Duh, I didn't even see that. There's your problem. The error was so like plainly clear that there wasn't anything else to say about it. Okay, now this should maybe work. Nope, game bank does not exist. Oh, we need those up above. Well, that's okay. We'll just trash everything, right? And then we'll rerun this stuff. Not a big deal. Just run it and run it and run it. So let's delete. Delete select ID from bank. We'll delete the banks. We'll delete the entries. I think the transactions get deleted because of the cascade from the bank, right? It's master detail. Pretty sure. But let's see. Okay, we'll run all this. There we go. Now let's query out our transactions. Let's grab the amount on each of these. Okay, so what do we do here? We created the game, started the balance, and then we gave 1,500 to this player. We took away 1,500 from the bank. We gave 1,500 to this player. We took 1,500 from the bank. I would like to see the entry. The entries in here. I feel like to get this out with the entries in the way that they're set up right now would be super. I think it would be, well, it wouldn't be bad. We would do this, right? We would say, instead we would say this, select the ID is the entry. I'm gonna go like this. We would do the credit. The credits, that's the transaction, it's the amount. Do the debit amount. Then we could get the, we can still get this stuff out. We just need to reference it through the transactions, right? Let's get the name of the entry as well. See how that looks. That looks ugly. Can I spread this out a little further? There we go. Can y'all see that? Yes, you can. Can I get away? Nope. Go a little wider on this side. Okay, so we got this first entry, credit to the game. No debiting side. probably a memo there that would say, you know, new game. Then we credit to the player, 1,500 to the player, minus 1,500 from the game, 1,500 to the player, the other player, minus 1,500 to the game. And our balances are, well, I could probably pull the balance here too. We're going to get the we're going to get the credit balance. It's really the, you know, the player's balance, which is bank dot balance. And then the debit side's balance. That should, it's debit, not credit. Okay. Let's do this. Execute, yes. Okay. A little nastier, a little wider, maybe. I could probably take the ID out of there so it's not quite as wide. Let's see. Did I do it right? Something's off here, right? The balance on each of these should not be 1750. Am I getting the right banks out of here? I'm gonna go over to the dev console. It's just a little easier to see. Square has to start with what now? What? It does start with select. What's wrong with you? Weird. Okay. I'm going to pull this off screen a second so I can see if these fields are actually lining up the way they should. Oh, yeah. Okay, it does make sense because I'm pulling the balance for the credit side and the debit side, right, in each of these. So, which what I really want to be able to do is just say player dot bank. So we have a little bit of a redundant relationship to make there, but that way we don't have to worry about players having multiple banks. But yeah, this does check out. So because I forgot we were getting both sides of that. Well, we did it. We've got some credits and debits and transactions and entries. Fun stuff. We can put that into use. Gonna take a quick break. Gotta take care of a couple of things here in the workday, and I'll be back in a few minutes. So I'll put up my usual. We'll be right back. Note. Stay tuned. I will try to come back and actually turn on the mic, which I did not do last time, which was silly. And we're back. All right, we built a semi sort of kind of maybe transaction model for the game. Now we got to put it in the game. I think we need a flow that we can say do transaction or something like that. I don't know. Seems like does that sound good? That sounds good to me. Do transaction. It'll be a subflow, so we can call it from places. Auto launch. We looked at this a little bit. What do we need in it? We need, oops, where were we? Not using this. I hate to sound so down on this, but like, if you can't traverse relationships, this is not super duper useful. I feel bad saying it, but it would be incredibly useful if that was possible. Okay. That said, I'm not going to save those. We need our flow to do this stuff. So we need to be able to pass in some input parameters. Let's pass in an amount. That will be money. Let's pass in the credit Salesforce ID. We'll make that text. Who's getting the money? We'll pass in the debit SFID. That'll be the who's having the money taken. Who's paying. And oh, well, we talked about a memo field. We don't have that yet, but we can add that at another time. I'll create the input parameter just so we have it. Memo, text, input. We just won't pass it yet. Now we need to do a few things, right? So we need to get the bank. We need to load the credit bank. First, we need to figure out what data type is the object, right? We can do that. What do we got to query for? What has key prefix? Entity? Can I get that from here? Get entity info? Oh. Okay, hold on. Entity. Which one is it? Entity definition? Am I going to be able to query this out? Let's see. Key prefix. Is there a name? Well, let's try it. We can build it and then, so we want to do, I think, entity definition, right? Entity definition, where key prefix equals, and then we'll get, let's make a formula, right? Let's do formula, we'll call this credit SFID prefix text, and that is we want which one? We want the left right? Left, return specified number from the left. So we'll take that and we'll get 3 back. Did I do that right? Yes. Okay. And so let's get credit entity info. Save that. It's a, do transaction, right? Run it as system. Good. Let's debug here. Can I get I gotta get some data. I think I just need bank info. Well, actually, I just need player, right? I just need a player, because that could be a player or a bank. So let's return. Let's do this. Let's return these in here too. Okay. So this would be a player ID. So let's test this and see what we. Found records. Okay, neat. So if the what I think what's the name field here? What's developer name versus fully qualified? Let's let me do a search on this. Was that qualified API name, I think? What's our key prefix on that? It is A04. Failed to run. What? Oh, whoops. Okay, fully qualified as player. So that's what we want. We want the fully qualified API name. So we will test that. Back to editing our flow. Decision. Let's see. Object name. If it's a player. Otherwise, it's a game. I mean, I'm taking a swing in the dark there. It may you may choose to put in a dumb. Let's be a little bit better about that, right? Let's call this. Say this one's game. This one is invalid. So let's see. Entity qualified equals game. Okay. I'm going to say what object credit object type. Let's say that. Yep. I'm going to do this all over again for the debit side, so I'll try to tweak my API name so they don't step all over each other. So we got game, player game invalid, and what? Whoops. Underscore done. Okay. So we're passing in this generic Salesforce ID. We're figuring out what type it is. If it's a player, then we're going to get the, we want to load up the, what I want to do, I think, is populate, I want to have a credit bank variable that's a record type bank. And then I want to have a debit bank. So I don't get all mixed up with our variables that we're about to go get. So if the credit entity is a player, then I need to go get the bank for that player. All right, so get records, get credit player bank. So we're going to query for a bank where player equals the credit. Nope. Hello. Okay. SFID, the credit SFID that's coming in. And we're going to put that it's fine. We'll store all fields and then we'll set the variable afterwards. So we'll get that and then we'll set our variable. Whoops, come on over. And assign credit bank equals that. Okay, so we got that player bank, and now we need let's do the game bank. I'm going to copy this. This is get game player bank. Still a bank, but now we're looking at the game field. And we're going to do all that. And we're still going to do an assignment. Assign credit bank 2. This is from get credit. This is get game. Wait, not get game player bank. That's a dumb name. Get credit game. Credit game bank. Okay, that makes much more sense. And then if it's invalid, we need to do something. Probably like return, maybe return a. Well, yeah, let's do that. Let's return a variable success, right? Data type Boolean, and do we want to assume? Let's be pessimistic, right? That'll go back as output. We just need to make sure that we set that. If not, so if it's invalid, well, you know what? Maybe I'll be more optimistic because we'll set this to true. Maybe I'll regret that, but all right. If it's invalid, we're going to set success to false. Success equals false. Okay, maybe we'll have some other. Maybe we want like an error message field, but there's our. So we're getting our credit bank, and now can I copy this whole thing? Probably not. So now we're going to do the debit object type. And this is going to be player again. But first we need to, let's copy this. Let's get debit entity info. Okay, and this is going to be, we need another prefix, right? So we want to create another formula. We'll call this one debit SFID prefix. And we'll make that text. We'll do left again. And we'll get our debit SFID, 3 of those. Good. Okay. So now we're getting that. Got that. We need to change these to get debit entity qualified, and same for the game. Debit entity qualified. Okay. And then we're going to copy in our all this stuff basically. Copy, paste, rename, get debit player bank. Assign debit bank. Get debit player bank. Yep, because we're still doing the debit player bank thing. Get assign debit bank. All right, let's get credit game bank. Okay, and assign debit bank. Two, right? Did we have to do that on the other one? Get debit game bank. Okay, and then let's take this outcome. Set outcome fields if there's a problem again. Really, if there's a problem, we need to just bail on the last one, so I don't Nah, because it could fail here, right? So we could pass the first one and then get stuck here. We don't want to do that. Okay, so we have found out the object type of the two fields that are coming in, our credit and debit SFIDs. We've gotten the banks that are related to each of those, either player or game records. That's all they're going to be when they come in. And we have assigned local variables for the credit bank and the debit bank. Now we need to create transactions for each of those, for each side. And then we need to create an entry that we can relate that all to. So let's create our credit transaction. If I wanted to be really good here, I probably would I would bundle these up and create a collection so I could insert them both. I'm going to be a little lazy. Don't do what I do, kids. Okay, so our transaction bank is going to be the credit bank ID. Our amount is going to be the amount that's coming in. That's the positive side. Okay. I'm going to copy this. And we're going to create a debit transaction. All right, same thing, but this is now going to be the debit bank. Debit bank.id. Okay, and the amount, we need to tweak this. We need a formula. It's just negative amount. And we'll make that currency still. And that's -1 times amount. Yep. Okay, we've created both of those, and now we'll create an entry. Oops, what did I pick? Expense report entry. Just an entry. And that's the credit's going to be the create credit transaction. The debit is going to be the create debit transaction. Is there any other field for us to? Owners doesn't matter. We'll insert that. And then if we bomb here, we need to go directly to wait. No, I don't want to do that. Don't do that. Okay, come on now. Delete that connection. Yeah, we're just going to end there and then delete this connection. Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Let's just go to just go somewhere and then delete it. Seems odd, but okay. Nope, I can't do that one. I want both of those to end. So can I connect this to the other end? That's really weird. I feel like I'm doing a dumb thing with the UI here, but it's what we need. We want those to just bail out, Otherwise, go down the path, create the entry, and it'll return success because that's the value that we got there. Okay, so we should, let's do what we just did. I can debug a subflow. I don't have to run it in rollback, right? So we could actually kind of like replay everything that we played to get here. If I were to just delete the transactions and the entries out of the system. Okay, those are all gone. So now I've got my banks here somewhere. Yep. I always forget that second click. Okay, so we got banks, we got a game, bank for the game. So what this won't let us do is return a null. Let's do this. Let's move our credit transaction to here. Our debit transaction can stay there, right? We need to check. We need another decision in here. Has credit SFID? Yes. Credit SFID is null false. Credit SFID does not equal empty string. It's probably overkill. Not null, not blank. So if it has one, we're continuing down, cutting all these paths and pasting them in there. There we go. If not, oh wait, and we'll move this. I will say the cut feature is huge. Very, 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 very nice. It's okay if we don't have a credit side of an entry. Hypothetically. It's more likely we won't have the debit side, like when we create a game. You know, we don't have it there. So we want the same test. Really, we should move this in there too. If you have one, do your stuff. Otherwise, bypass. Then we'll say same thing. Has debit SFID. Yes. Has debit SFID. Yes. Debit SFID is null false. Debit SFID does not equal empty string. Okay, pull this up there. Pull this up there. And pull this up there. And let's then we can test here. Has transactions? Yes. Yes, ye. see. If this is not null, wait. Let's do this another way. Let's maybe make a flag that we went down each of those paths. I don't think... Okay, if has credit ID not was visited, where do we what was after credit ID? Get bank. We want a bank, right? Get bank from get credit. Credit bank. Credit bank. If credit bank is not null, or debit bank is not null, then we'll create an entry. Okay. I think we got it all. That should do us a transaction. So we got rid of all our transactions. So now let's see if we can kind of debug our way through some of these. Okay, so the first one's going to be the game credit. Credit the game 20,580. Go. How'd we do? Has credit, yes. Get, find, it's a game. Bank, transaction, debit, no. Entry, yep. Okay. Do I still have my dev console open? Resume. How'd we do here? Hello, are you alive? Ay, ay, ay. Give me all this. Copy, close, close. There we go. Okay. Credit amount, credit bank is an object. I assume the right object. We did no debiting. Okay, cool. Next, we are gonna credit the player and debit the game. So let's do this again. $1,500, right, to the player from the game. Go. Uh-oh. Something went wrong. We credit, yes, it was a player, created it. Debit, yes, it was a game. We tried to create it. What happened? Required field missing bank. What? So we didn't get our debit bank, it looks like. Get debit game bank. Bank where game equals debit SFID. Well, let's step back through this then. Has debit. Yep. Get info. Yep. Object type. Yeah, went down the game path. Okay. Get debit game bank. Got it. Assign bank. Oh, here's the problem. Assign debit bank. Here. Debit. Debit bank. There's the problem. Okay. Did that complete a transaction? It didn't create any entries, but did it roll back? An error occurred, the flow failed. I want another query out here. I just want to get select ID from transaction. We should only have one if this rolled back. We do, okay. So save changes. Okay, debug again. The player, the bank, go. Let's see, we had a credit, it was a player, inserted, had a debit, it was a game, inserted, had an entry, inserted. Let's go to this tab again and refresh that. So plus 15, minus 15, cool. Let's have one more query out here. We'll say ID balance from bank. And there we go. What is the 0? Curious about that one. Is that something that was just floating around on us? Oh no, that's the bank. Sorry, we have a bank for that player, but we do not yet have a balance assigned to that. So I would run the same thing for this other player here. Let's go back to let's debug one more time, and we'll credit that player. What? Except we failed. Did I put that in the wrong field? I think I did. Oh yeah, that's a bank. That's a bank, not a player. Let's do this one instead. Well, it did. Oh yeah, so this should skip to, right, this assignment should definitely skip to here. Wait, stop it. This should connect to here, right? And then this should connect to, oh, why does it do that? Here. No, damn it. No. Where did we come from? Here. Let's get rid of this one. Yep. Okay. We want to go from here, connect all the way down the universe here to this. Okay, there we go. So now we'll skip any other stuff if there's an error. Okay, debug. Let's debug one more time. Make sure. I don't think we have anything here yet. Nope. Okay, so our amount 1,500 to our player from our bank or from our game. go. Looks good. Flow finished. Refresh. There we go. The world is in balance. Order is maintained. All right. Hey, poor man's double entry accounting for Monopoly, Forceopoly. What we don't, so we have to create banks for the game and the players as part of starting the game. So we'll have to add that to our flow. And I wonder if it's worth. No, I was gonna say should do transaction just create a game, but I don't think that's a great idea. I saw a ladybug. That's why I'm looking around here. I don't think that's a good idea. We need to assume that the player has a game, or I'm sorry, the players have banks and the game has banks, and we'll go from there. But this is good, right? We can see the balances of each of these. We can do transaction a lot easier. We need to do some memo stuff. Probably makes sense. What were these transactions? But hey, we got something going. So that's cool. I'm happy. And it's 3 o'clock. That's the show. Thanks for hanging out.